Surrey County, 533.8 square miles of land area, the 34th largest county in the state in terms of that, and with a 71,152 person population, with 4 early voting sites. Now, I want you to imagine if the county only had one, 533.8 square miles and only 1 early voting site. And I say this because this was actually a plan proposed by members of the Surrey County Board of Elections back in February. Only 1 early voting site. And one of the members, Tim DeHaan, is actually proposed this plan. And he said at that meeting, according to minutes that were recorded, that he is against early one-stop voting. He also said that the less one-stop voting and one-stop sites we have in Surrey County, the less likelihood of fraud we are going to have. I have to tell you, my jaw dropped when I read that. I just think that this really goes to the point of why we need to be monitoring these board of election meetings, so that we can know what's going on and we can advocate for equitable early voting sites, because to have 1 site in a county that size does not make a lot of sense, in my view. And this is an article from the Elkin Tribune back in February that talked about the situation there. You can see the headline, and this is actually a picture from Mount Airy taken in October 2020 at one of Mount Airy's early voting sites. So you can see these sites were heavily trafficked, and to lose them would have been a great loss. So these are one of the things that we are following as we monitor County Board of Elections. And to talk more, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Jane.
There we go. Good evening. My name is Jane Pinsky, and I work with Tyler and Retrina. We're going to talk just a tiny bit about what county boards of elections can do. In North Carolina, every county has its own board. Each board is made up of 5 people, 3 of whom are from the same party as the governor, 2 of whom are from the opposite party. So if you're a registered independent, you have no voice on that. They can decide a lot of things, what kind of voting machines, where polling places can be. And at some point, that may be something you have to monitor. But right now, we're just going to talk about a couple of things. Obviously, a county board of elections can decide how many early voting sites there are and where they should be. Like Tyler, I looked at a county. The county I looked at was Halifax, which is even bigger than Surrey. It has 724 square miles. And it has about 58,000 people. Now, it would be possible for Halifax County to legally have 1 early voting site. Every county has to have an early voting site at their offices. But luckily, Halifax County had 5, which made it easier for people in the county to vote. Although the director of the Board of Elections there told me a very sad story of a woman who paid her neighbor $30 to drive her to the polling place, except it was an old early voting site, not the one she wanted to go to. So the other thing that the boards of elections can decide is the hours for things like early voting. So they are required to have minimal hours by the state, and they could have extended hours. This is a picture of what we think could be a perfect set of early voting hours, early enough that people could vote before work and late enough that people could vote after work, that people could vote on Saturday and Sunday. But they don't have to do that. And in many counties, there was Saturday voting only on the 2nd Saturday because they're mandated to do that by the state, and no Sunday voting. In many counties, the offices closed at 5:30 or 6. So if you were a working person, it was tough to get there. So that's one of the many things we're going to be asking you to look at as you monitor the boards of elections. Because I know it seems like we just had an election, which we did a week ago, but there are plenty more coming up. So I'm going to let Tyler and Retrina now tell you some more about what we're working on.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Retrina.
Yes. So basically, we're just, this is why we need you. This is why we are excited about you all volunteering, because without you, we having all eyes and ears on this, early voting, well, hours, polling locations, voting on Sunday, and accountability and transparency can be just cut. It could be a possibility of losing that. So we need you. We do. We need you to make sure, we need you to volunteer in making sure that elections are fair and accessible, to help combat misinformation and disinformation, to hold County Board of Elections accountable, to identify problems and challenges at the local level, and to make sure the County Board of Election meetings are more accessible. So that's why you are here today. This is why we need you to volunteer. This is why we need eyes and ears on our County Board of Elections. So I just want to say thank you already for just taking this time and signing up to volunteer. So thank you. I'll pass it to Tyler.
Okay. Thanks, Retrina. I just do want to mention that if you have questions, you can put them in the chat. We will get to them at the end. So continuing on, you may be thinking, well, I'm going to be monitoring these meetings. When do they meet? So county boards of elections meet at different times. It depends upon each county. Each county sets its own schedule for that. So the best thing is to contact your county board of elections or to check their website. Usually they meet regularly at the same time. So it could be the third Monday at 5 o'clock or something like that. But it can vary, and sometimes they'll have special meetings. And you can also sign up for alerts and notices from your county board of elections if they offer that. Most don't actually do that, but some do. I know Forsyth County does. And I would highly recommend that if you're going to be monitoring, because it will help to make sure that you don't miss anything. So a few things I want to talk about in regard to meetings. There are some special meetings in addition to the regular board meetings, like the absentee meetings. And these happen beginning on the 5th Tuesday before an election, unless they change it, and they must notify the public of that. But the 5th Tuesday before the election, they will hold absentee meetings. And at these meetings, the county boards will approve or deny absentee ballot applications. In our state, the absentee ballot envelopes must be signed by 2 witnesses who are 18 or older, or by a notary. So they'll be checking the ballot applications to make sure that everything is in order. And but they also may conduct other business at these meetings. So, but just something to keep in mind: the 5th Tuesday before an election, and then subsequent Tuesdays up through the election, they will hold those absentee meetings. There also are canvas meetings after the election. So county boards of election will hold an official canvas meeting 10 days after election day. They'll be holding one actually on Friday of this week. So they also have preliminary canvas meetings in the period after an election. And so you may be thinking, what happens during these meetings? Well, the purpose of these meetings is to verify that all eligible ballots were counted properly and to certify the election results. So there are procedures that they have to go through. They will check absentee ballots that were returned before the deadline. They will also be looking at provisional ballots to determine whether or not they should be counted. So that's another type of meeting, in addition to absentee meetings and your regular board meetings. So what would you be doing exactly in monitoring county boards of elections, you may be asking. So I'm going to go through a few different aspects that we want you to monitor, and we have a form for you to fill out to help us in compiling the information, and I'll show you that at the end. The first thing that we want to look at is the public comment period. First, we want to know, does the board have a public comment period? Some do not, and that is something that we want to advocate for. We do think that there should be a period for people to address their concerns to the board. And at that period, if they do have one, what concerns from members of the public were raised, if there were any? Sometimes there may not be anyone there to speak. And also, were there themes among those who spoke? Was there something in particular that many people spoke about, like the loss of a particular early voting site or the change of a particular polling place, or something that people weren't happy with? Was there something in particular that was raised? We want to know about that. The next thing are actions that the board takes. And this is anything that the board votes on. So anything that is substantive that the board votes on. So this could include early voting plans. We talked about that before. Precinct location changes. Sometimes a location of a particular precinct will have to be changed for various reasons. If the that location can no longer is no longer willing to be a site, or there is something else, there could be many reasons, but we want to know about those precinct changes. Election worker appointments. It is the duty of the board to appoint judges and chief judges to serve on election day at polling precincts, and to also appoint early voting captains. So that is something that we want to know about. The approval or rejection of absentee ballots at the absentee meetings. So that's something as well. And candidate challenges as well. And this is probably going to be rare, but it happens sometimes. Actually, there was a candidate challenge in Pasquotank earlier this year, and the board held a hearing on that. So that's something that we would want you to let us know about. So please, on any of these actions, you'll hear the board, someone will make a motion, they'll put it on the floor, and the board will vote. And most of these, a lot of the time, it's going to be unanimous. If it is not, then please let us know what the tally of it was, so that we know how the vote broke down. Another thing I will also mention here is that you may want to look at the Board of Election website for your county first and familiarize yourself with who is on the board, so that way, when you're either if you're watching it online or in person, it'll help you to know who's talking, and you'll get a better understanding of who is who's talking and who's making motions and so forth. And no need to include procedural votes like a vote on the agenda or approving minutes, something like that. No need to record that. The board may also have discussions when they don't vote on anything. So, but they may have lengthy discussions about something important. We want to know about that as well, certainly. So let us know if you hear of the board discussing an item at length. Also, election updates. Often during these meetings, the director will give an update to the board about the status of the election. This could be an update about voter turnout. It could also be about the need for poll workers. We have seen in some counties where there has been a shortage of poll workers, and that's something very important that we would want to know about, so that we can get that information out to our members and the organizations we collaborate with to hopefully fill those poll workers. So let us know about that as well. And also, lastly, we want to know feedback from you. How was your experience in monitoring the Board of Elections? Was the meeting easy to follow? Was it easy to understand what was going on? Could you hear and see what was going on? Whether you were attending virtually or in person, your feedback will be very, very helpful as we work with county boards to try to make sure that the experience is as accessible for people as possible, because it's important that people are able to follow the process. I mean, these these county boards of elections are making really important administrative decisions that affect our entire elections process in that particular county. So it's really important that the process is accessible to people. And you'll be using our County Board of Election reporting form. It has everything that I just listed, and I'm going to stop my screen share and shift to show you that. Just one moment. Pull that up. All right, can you all see this? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is what the form looks like. You'll put in your contact information here, the date of the board meeting, and then all the points that I just went over. If there was a public comment period, what issues that were discussed during that period, what actions the board took, if there were election updates, and any feedback that you have. And then there's also a space there for any comments or questions that you have. So that is an overview of what you'll be doing. And I think we are now ready to take any questions that you have. So
Tyler, if I may, I was just going to say to everybody that at least in Wake County and a couple of the other counties that I've been to, the boards of elections are delighted to have people there. Most of the time they feel like they work anonymously and that nobody really cares what they're doing. And in one county, they asked people in the audience to introduce themselves and came up afterwards and thanked me for being there.
yes, thank you for sharing that, Jane. That's absolutely right. I've been on board some of these county board of election meetings. Well, I'm the only person watching. So it's very important that we are there, that they see members of the public because we want them to know that we are engaged in this. And again, we want to be able to react to any of the the things that we pointed out, so that we can advocate for the most transparent and accessible elections possible.
Can I ask a question? I'm not sure. I thought I was signing up for something different, but I'm not sure what the actual purpose of being there is, just for us.
Yes. So the purpose is so that we can monitor all the things that I just went over.
Yeah.
So we can keep track of what's going on at the meetings, and then we can respond accordingly. So for example, if there is an early voting plan that is submitted that is not very equitable for that county, say like in Surrey County, there's one site, we can go and advocate, by you telling us this, because we wouldn't have any information about it if people aren't there. And then by you being able to report to us, hey, this was discussed at the board meeting. There was this plan that was introduced with one site. There was this plan introduced with 4 sites. Then we can go back and, tell others in the county, hey, the Board of Elections is considering these plans. Make sure you advocate for the better plan. You see what I'm saying?
So who's advocating? The people in the county?
Yes, 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 and others. I mean, yeah, but people in that county. Let me see.
We have a few
Go ahead.
questions from earlier. If it's okay, I was gonna go down this list. We had some when we initially started. Had one from, and then I see Pam and Bob. We'll get to you too. This was earlier. It was at the 2020 voting at the Board of Elections. This is for Rosemary. We were told that we had to have one early voting site for every 20,000 registered voters. What happened to this rule? So that was one of the questions that was raised.
Okay. Thanks, Trina, and thank you, Rose, for that question. I am not familiar with that rule, so I would have to check on that. I'm not sure about that. It's my understanding that the Board of Elections in whichever county has the authority to decide however many sites they want to have.
Well, I was at the Board of Elections meeting, and Adam, who's the charge, he acted like this is what the state told us to do. And Mecklenburg County had 31 early voting sites, Gaston had 17. Because we understood that was what was the state Board of Elections was saying. Now that was in the presidential election, and maybe they make different rules for different, maybe there are different processes. I don't know. I could go back and ask Adam where that came from.
I think Bob
Yes,
has an
okay.
answer.
Hi, this is Bob Phillips. I'm colleagues with Tyler, Retrina, and Payne. That rule was put in place in 2019 or 2020, I should say. It was specifically House Bill 1169, which provided some better voting rules, practices, given that we were entering the presidential election year in a COVID environment. And actually that one early voting site for every 20,000 voters was something that the State Board of Elections Executive Director Karen Brinson Bell issued, along with some other administrative orders, which included Sunday voting. It was the first election in the history of North Carolina when every county had to provide Sunday voting. And so that is what that was about. That was sunset. It was not something that carried over into the 2022 cycle. And sort of, Tyler, what I was going to say is, for the person who was asking about what's the purpose, just to amplify what you were saying, all the decisions about where we might have early voting sites, the hours that they operate, whether Sunday voting is going to be available, those decisions are not made by the governor. They're not made by the state legislature. They're not made by the State Board of Elections. They're made by the County Board of Elections, the folks who are your neighbors and people that you may know, but that 5-member board that Jane talked about. And as Tyler mentioned, we have to rely on good folks like you to help us be the eyes and ears to make sure that we have as many voting opportunities and options as possible versus the opposite. So I hope that's sort of, again, Tyler, amplifying what you had said, but also answering the question about the formula for one early voting site per 20,000 people in the county.
Yes.
Oh, and maybe it was 2016, there were 70 people who showed up at the Board of Elections in Gaston County asking for early voting. I will say that the board voted against us early voting in spite of that. But anyway, sometimes you don't succeed, but you bring it out.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you for raising that. And thank you, Bob, as well. And I see we do have some people with their hands raised, but there were a few questions in the chat previously that I wanted to get to. Dilsey Burton asked, should we only monitor the board in our county of residence? What if our county of residence already has a designated monitor? Can we choose a different county? So you do not have to monitor the county that you live in. If you want to monitor a neighboring county, that would be great. And even if we have more than, if there's someone there, it's okay to have more than one person at one county, that can be helpful because, you might miss something that someone else gets, or, vice versa. So that's absolutely okay. And let me see. Also, Jacqueline asked, how do I know if my county already has a monitor? We have everyone's information, so we can let you know if there are others in your county that are monitoring. But like I just said before, it's certainly okay to have more than one monitor at a county.
It's also good to have two people because sometimes there are 4 meetings in a week if there are absentee ballots to be gone over or provisional ballots to be reviewed. And you may not be able to sit through 4 days of meetings.
Yes.
Yes. Agreed.
Absolutely. Let me see what else. Do we identify ourselves as common cause monitors or just blend in as a county resident? You don't have to identify yourself at all, really, at these meetings. I mean, you have if you want to, you can, but you can just go in and monitor the meeting and take notes. And if you want to introduce yourself to the members of the board or the elections director, you certainly can before or after the meeting, and let them know what you're doing. But there's no obligation to do that. Julie, did you have a question?
I do. It's actually kind of 2 questions. I'm first of all interested in understanding a little more about what your ask is. Are you looking for somebody to monitor all upcoming Board of Elections meetings through the end of the general election in 2022? And there's only 20 of us on this call, and there's 100 counties in North Carolina. And I suspect there is some counties are higher priorities for monitoring than others. If we just pick the county that's most convenient for us, you may not get the coverage that is more important. So can you provide any guidance on that? I'm in Person County, but I'm a reasonable drive to Granville or Durham or Orange or Caswell. So
That is a great question. And we will, when we follow up with the email with you all, I will send out, and we have a map that's showing all the counties that we're focusing on in particular. And I don't have that with me right here, but I will send that to you. And you said you were in Person County. Durham County is one of our higher priority counties. We're focusing on counties with HBCUs in coordination with our HBCU program. So that includes Mecklenburg, Guilford, Forsyth, Durham, Wake. And we're also focusing on counties in the eastern part of the state. So some of those northeastern counties like Nash, Edgecombe, Wilson, and Pasquotank County as well, Halifax County, Latrina's in the Charlotte area. I mentioned Mecklenburg. We're also looking at some of those neighboring counties, Cabarrus and Union County. And in addition, I know we have a lot of members in Buncombe and New Hanover County, so we're including those as well. But I will send that out when we send out the follow-up email to everybody, so you can see that. But we are prioritizing those counties. So if you can go to those counties, that'd be great. But if you're willing to just do your county, that's okay too. We will take whatever whatever you're able to give. And we would love for you to be able to join us through the end of the election in November. But I do understand that everyone has differing schedules and so forth. So, whatever you're able to do in terms of what you're able to give to monitoring, then we will be very happy to have that, because like I said, it's such critical information to know what's going on at these meetings.
Also, some counties are available online. So you could sit comfortably in Person County and watch Pasquotank County. There are about 18, 20 of them that do either virtual or virtually and in person.
That's
Yes.
a great point. However, my experience with watching virtually is you've got one camera in a room, and at least in my county, those 5 people met in not a particularly great meeting room, and it was really difficult to follow the conversation in person. So
It is
yeah,
tough.
in theory, the meeting was available online, but I think most observers would have had no prayer of following what was going on.
Oh, I think you're right. And I also think that there's something about sitting in the room and them having to stare at you
Exactly.
and know you're paying attention that helps. But any monitoring is better than none at all.
Yep,
Mhm.
that's a good point.
Mhm. And there were a couple more questions in the chat that I wanted to get to, and then I'll get to you, Nancy. Let me see. Warren asks if the CC have a structure and procedure for us. How do we communicate with Common Cause? So as I said before, we will be using that form, and I will put the link to this in the chat now. Just bear with me for a moment.
We're also happy to take email, text, and if it seems really crucial, you're at a meeting and you've got a question, you'll have our phone numbers and can call one of us or Bob.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Mhm.
Let me see what else. Susie asked, we are monitoring. Can we ask a question of the board? Susie, could you elaborate on, are you asking if you can ask the board questions during the meeting? Is that what you're asking? If you'd be willing.
Yes, I am. I'm asking if we can ask them questions when they're discussing or they make their decisions. If we could ask a question to, well, why did you decide this? What makes this, the appropriate thing to do?
Yes, during the public comment period, you're free to ask any questions that you want. So that is the time for you as a member of the public to ask those questions. Now, yeah, you of course have to do that during the period that is allotted. You can't just ask in the middle of the meeting, but during the public comment period or any time that the board allots for that, then absolutely.
Tyler, I'm sorry, you were calling on me, Pam here.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
Senior Dems meeting as well.
Oh.
And I to answer that. The experience I have with I'm in Davidson County, and they allow me, but you need to ask permission. They allow me clarification if I ask, why did you not accept that ballot or whatever, but I'm not allowed to have a conversation with them because we don't have public comment. All we can do is email. But that's why we need to be there at the meetings. I'm sorry. I'm mostly what I want to do is edify what you've been saying, because I found a really big issue with how they were counting curbside ballots in my county, and I wouldn't know if I hadn't shown up to the meetings. So if you hear about all the big lie or the fraud, all that stuff, the only way that we really have to prove that doesn't happen is to get involved and show up at these meetings. In my county, we didn't have enough Democrats for judges, and they were talking about putting unaffiliates as the other judge. And I'm like, no, you can't do that. we have to have people at the meetings to stop things like that from happening. And as a disabled person and a senior, I try to advocate for curbside voting and the MAT teams. So I thank you for letting me edify what you're saying and how important this is.
Yes, well, thank you for your comments. You're absolutely right, and that is exactly you explained very well why we need people at these meetings, because we would not know what is being decided, and these are such crucial decisions that are being made. I wanted to go to Nancy. I think you were first.
Hi, Tyler. So I'm wondering, would it be helpful right now for us to rename ourselves to include our county on the screen here so that everybody can see, if there's someone, other people in our county, or is this something that you're going to consolidate and send out to us at a later date?
So when you signed up, you filled in your county information. So we should have that, and we can let you know of others in your county that are doing it as well. So I don't think that's necessary right now, but yeah, everyone should have, if you put that in when you signed up for this meeting.
I just want to say a lot of these questions, like it's just even more. I know Pam had already pretty much said it too, but the issues with not being able to hear the meetings virtually, the public comments, and maybe not being able to say anything because it may not even be in public comments. It's just more and more reason. I know we keep reiterating, but it is just more and more reason why we need people. We need you all at these County Board of Election meetings.
And one of the things that happens is they call a meeting and then they decide there isn't enough business to warrant them having a meeting. And nobody knows that. Some counties don't have minutes or recordings of meetings. I mean, if there hadn't been minutes from Surrey County, we never would have found out about this board member who thinks there shouldn't be one-stop voting.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
Pam, I think you're from Davidson County. That's one of the counties that's on my personal watch list. They need to up their game.
We need to talk. Reach out to me later because I've been going to the meetings for a couple of years, and I'm on the NCDP Vote Pro team. So
Great.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show you all this map. These are the counties that we're focusing on. Even if you don't live in one of these counties, again, we'd love it if you would be willing to, if you live nearby, to go to any of the counties you see highlighted here. And if not, if you can't do that and you just want to monitor your county, that's fine too. We will take that as well. But you can see all of those counties in orange are those with HBCU or HBCU campuses. The blue counties are counties where Retrina and I held workshops last year. And then we added the green counties as well. And those brown ones are ones we had workshops in, and those are HBCU counties as well. So I wanted to show you this, and we can include this in the follow-up email for everybody, so you have that. But I just wanted to make sure we showed that.
And we can send people a list, right, Tyler?
Yes, we can send that as well.
Aha, there's a shout out to Livingstone College. We have an organizer there.
Yes.
And the other thing is, we're not the only group doing this. We have partners, as 100 counties is just too much for anybody to manage.
Right, right. That's a great point, Jane. And we work with our partners on these issues. So we're able to share information, and the information that you are getting from these counties, we're able to then talk with the other organizations, and we're able also to see if there are themes that are developing among different counties. You know, we talked about in Surrey County, the situation there about early voting. And one of the things that I have noticed in talking with some of the other directors is that there seems to be this misinformation about early voting, that people believing that it is not safe. And so, that's something that we've noticed, that is a trend we've noticed. And again, it's thanks to the people that we have monitoring. So that's really important. And I see Susie, you have a question.
Question. This is, I think, my first meeting, if I'm not mistaken, because I've been so many meetings. So if I'm volunteering to do this, I'm in Craven County. So I would have to go on Craven County Board of Elections website and sign up, or would I make a phone call to them, or just show up?
You don't have to tell them you're coming, and we are putting together a team in Craven County, so we'll make sure you're connect with them.
Yes, absolutely. And that goes for anyone. You don't have to sign up to go to these meetings. These are public meetings. These are meetings that are for you and for us, because these Board of Election members work for us. Remember, they're administering elections for us. So don't worry about that. And the main thing, I think, is just make sure you know when the meetings are, and where to go. Because in Craven County, for example, you actually don't ever have to go anywhere. They hold their meetings virtually. So if you don't want to go in person, you can view the meeting online. Some counties don't have that option. So it's important to check the meeting website or to call the County Board of Elections first. You have another question?
I do. The form that you're going to be sending out, is that an electronic form that it will get back to you guys like ASAP?
Yes, it is. It's a Google form. So the nice thing about that is that once you fill it out, it automatically goes into our spreadsheet, and we're able to see everything that you've put in. So it's really, really nice for us. And then we're able to see, all the information that people are sharing from their counties.
And in case you were wondering, Tyler pretty much works 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. So he'll catch it. And if he doesn't, Retrina and I have a chance, maybe.
Well, Jack asks, are certain types of meetings more critical to monitor than others? If so, could you share a ranking? I can't really say that. The thing is, at these meetings, even if they do offer an agenda, but oftentimes that agenda is not very specific. It will just say, election updates, absentee count. It won't really say a lot of the details of what they're doing. So it's hard to really know that beforehand. So I can't really tell you, okay, this is more important than another, because you really don't know everything that they're going to discuss. And sometimes, I've been at meetings before not expecting it to be all that lively, or all that anything really super important to happen, and then it ends up being quite important. So yeah, I can't really say that, and that's right. We really need people at each of these meetings, so that we can keep track of what's happening. And Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Tyler, to what you were answering, and you can talk more about this. We do know that there will be deadlines that every county will have to have their early voting plan in and turned in by the State Board of Elections. And that process will then necessitate the counties debating how many, early voting sites they want and where they're going to be. We will know when that's going to happen. And Tyler, I know you'll be getting that information out to everybody, but that would be, at least for certain, a critical time. They'll talk about it. They'll eventually vote on it. And if they're not, and Tyler, you can again correct me, but if they're not unanimous, then it goes up to the State Board of Elections. And then that's yet another process that we follow in Raleigh. But there will be a date certain, if I'm correct, Tyler, where the counties will have to have their early voting plans turned into the State Board of Elections.
Yes, that's absolutely right. I believe that date is in August. I cannot tell you off the top of my head what that is, but we will definitely get that information to you as we get closer, because counties are going to start talking about those early voting plans, because they have to get them in. And any plans that are not unanimous go to the State Board of Elections, and the State Board then decides whether to choose the majority plan or the minority plan. And that's what happened in Surrey County. And so that'll be an opportunity for us again to advocate for the better plan.
The other thing, of course, is that there's some municipal elections coming up.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And municipal elections sometimes get more heated attention than state or federal elections, particularly from the Board of Elections people.
Yes. July 26th is the date for many municipal elections. I know Greensboro will have elections, Fayetteville. So we'll be watching out for that. And again, the fifth Tuesday before then, boards are going to start holding their absentee meetings, and they'll be deciding on that. So there's lots going on all the way through November. Yes, Craven County as well, Susie says. Okay. Well, I think that we have answered all the questions. If Jane or Retrina, if you could confirm that, I want to make sure.
Yeah, I think we have.
Yes,
I was going to say that, Tyler, you should tell everybody how to reach us. And tell them, of course, if they can't reach one of the three of us, you can always harass Bob. We're willing to volunteer him.
Yes. So,
sorry,
yes.
folks, I couldn't resist.
So I put my email in the chat, tdaye@commoncause.org. All of our emails are the first letter of our first name and then our last name @commoncause.org. So that is the way to reach us if you have questions. Feel free, don't hesitate if you have any questions. Again, just fill out that form we do ask that if you'll fill out the form and not email us the your reports, that will make it a lot easier for us if you can. So I will say that. Nancy's asking, does the absentee voting schedule get decided for each election? Might it be different for each of our 3 elections this year? So the counties are required to have an absentee meeting beginning on the 5th Tuesday before election day. So 5 Tuesdays out, and then they have it each Tuesday afterwards. They can change that schedule, but they do have to notify the public, and I believe it's 30 days beforehand. So they can change that, but they are required to by law to have it at that 5 Tuesdays out before Election Day.
Tyler, you should explain to people what an absentee ballot meeting is. This is one of the more arcane things about our system. I was really surprised to learn this one.
Yes, so and I had talked about that some during the presentation, but at the absentee ballot meeting, the board will be reviewing absentee ballot applications to make sure that they have the proper signatures. You're supposed to have 2 signatures, 18 or older, or it has to be signed by a notary, either or. And so they'll be reviewing the signatures, making sure that all that is there, making sure that the signature is looks right, and all of that. That's basically the focus of those meetings. But as I said before, at those absentee meetings, don't think that that's the only thing that they do. Sometimes that could be the only thing that they do, but they could have a long schedule with other activities and other things to talk about and to vote on. So that's important to note.
Right, and there is a mandated amount of time before the election when they start accepting absentee ballot applications. There is a cutoff by which those applications have to be in. I've sat at meetings where they deny those applications because it got there, 20 minutes too late or something.
Mhm.
Actually, I guess it's by a certain postmark.
Okay, and thank you, Jane. I think that we have everyone, we've answered all of your questions, but if anyone has any other questions, something comes up, again, feel free to contact us. You have our email addresses. And again, I cannot thank you all enough for volunteering to do this. It is going to be so helpful for us. Like I said, all of this, all of the information that you are getting at these meetings will really help us so that we can advocate for better policies at the county level for our elections to make them more transparent, more equitable, more early voting sites, and so forth. So it's really important, and help us track mis and disinformation as well. Again, I still can't believe that was said at a meeting that a board member said that they didn't believe in early voting. But but again, that is why we need you. And again, thank you all so much. And again, let us know if you have any questions. But we will sign off now, and take care, everybody.